June 10, 1700, Ulrich Graf and Maria Berkler had their first and only son, Mechler Graf, born in Luitwil, Switzerland. The Graf name was then carried through generations, all born in Luitwil. August 29, 1896, Rudolf Graf, my great-grandfather, was born. He married Magdalena Stager on January 3, 1920. She owned a restaurant where she was the chef, and they worked together to manage it. Their second child, Rene Rudolf Graf, was born in 1921 in Bern, a neighboring town of Luitwil. Rene was a respected family doctor, taking care of any and all illnesses, visiting their homes and making sure the whole family was okay. He had many other hobbies. He was a gemstone collector, a gold prospector, and a hunter. He shared his interest in art with Dora Elizabeth Blum, whom he married October 7, 1947. He built small structures from his gold, and Dora painted watercolor pictures. Dora also had a full-time job working by her husband's side as a lab technician, and continued with it while raising 3 kids, which was very uncommon at the time. At this point of time, none of the Grafs had ever left Switzerland. They had everything they needed for a happy life and had no reason to leave. But Rene and Dora's youngest son, Jörg Rainer Graf, born April 16, 1954, broke the status quo and left for the United States for his job for the Swiss Bank Corporation. He lived there for 3 years with an immigration visa, first in San Francisco and then in New York City. Then he moved on to Mexico for the same institution and learned a whole new culture and way of living. In Belgium, Denis Legros, a landscaper, married Maria Schins. They were middle class, and they raised a family of 4 in Huzy-Verviers. His son, Jean Legros, grew up to be a landscaper with his father. Here shows a receipt. Another one of his sons, Joseph Legros, born December 19, 1931, married Renée Bonaventure, June 12, 1936. Her father came from a very wealthy family. Joseph was very touched by World War II and greatly respects America because of his experience as a young boy. He had 2 sisters and a brother and lived in a small house. At age 13, Belgium was going through a tough time and was occupied by Germany. When the Americans passed through Belgium to liberate them from the Germans, soldiers were hosted by families in his neighborhood. Since there was no space for them to live in his house, his mother still helped doing their laundry and cooking for them. They stayed around for about a year and a half to discourage another German offensive. He grew up to be an antique dealer and raised a family of 4 children with Renee, Marie-Pierre Georgette Legros, who was born February 5, 1961, along with Elizabeth, Benoit, and Denis. Renee stayed at home as a housewife and passed her time as a gardener and a great chef. Marie-Pierre grew up in Huzy along with the rest of her family on the street where her parents still live today. She went to school there up to the university, and she was a very talented volleyball player. The unemployment in Belgium was very high, and Marie-Pierre had the opportunity to go to Mexico as an au pair. She thought it would be better to leave all of her family and learn to speak Spanish than to stay without a job. She stayed in Mexico for a year and a half when she met Jörg. They instantly fell in love and got married. At the time, pollution was horrendous in Mexico, and they did not want to raise their kids in an environment that was so unhealthy. So they decided to move to New Jersey, where there was a position for Jörg in downtown Manhattan. It took Marie-Pierre about a year to gain her citizenship on February 2, 2001. Here's the receipt of her citizenship with a cost of $250. Jörg took longer to get his citizenship and got it September 22, 2005. Here is a letter from the White House congratulating Jörg for becoming a citizen, saying that he is now a part of a great and blessed nation. signed by President George W. Bush. They had their life together as a family with 4 children, Marlene, Sebastian, Antoine, and Adeline. They now live in Connecticut while the rest of the Graff family are in Switzerland and the Legros family remains in Belgium.